Go. Okay, we're live. God. Hello and welcome to my first Friday Night Live with Jana. It nearly didn't happen again tonight, but we're here. I'm with the incredible Jana. Incredible woman, I have to say. She does Trojan work for years at this stage and getting this message out here and getting this information to parents. Jana, can you just tell us a little bit about your background? People that don't know you, because they'll hear your American accent, they'd probably be curious to say, who is she and that. So just a little intro about yourself, how you came to
Yeah,
Ireland
great.
and
Yeah,
why
I'll
you
choose.
stayed. And
Absolutely. Yep.
yeah, if you want to
I'll
go
share
with that.
I'll share a little bit of my personal intro, a little bit of professional, and then what led me to where I am today, doing the work that I do for the women, children, and
Yeah.
families in Ireland. So I've been in Ireland 23 years. I moved here back in 2003 for work. I was a senior manager in multinationals in the financial sector, and I came for a 6-month contract. And after 6 months, it kept getting extended, and I was an expat for maybe 6 or 7 years. And then fell in love with Ireland, enjoyed the lifestyle here, the quieter way of life. So I signed on as a local hire, where I worked several more years in the multinational business. And then after one redundancy, I got headhunted for another multinational, jumped right back in. Then there was another, let's just say, a cloak redundancy. We'll call it a cloak redundancy. It ended up in workplace relations, where I did very well with my case. And then I got married, and 3 months later conceived my first child. And I've been home as a full-time stay-at-home mom for almost 11 years. And I said I would stay home with my little ones until they were through preschool, but now they're 7 and 10, and they're still little. So I'm a full-time mom primarily. That's my number one job, the best job in the world, the toughest job in the world, the most important job in the world. But I also campaigning in between school runs and when the kids are asleep. I'm also a qualified life and business coach and an NLP practitioner, where I do therapy with clients to help them break through their limiting beliefs that they might have that's stopping them from doing something professionally or personally. So in Ireland now, like I said, 23 years. My Maine is where I'm from in the US. Beautiful place. My mom is there. My friends are still, friends I've known since I was 5 are still there. So whenever I fly to Maine, I say I'm flying home. But then when I'm finished on my holiday there, I say I'm flying home to Ireland. So I sort of have my home and heart in two places, but my home is wherever my children are, which I'm with my children most of the time. So that's a bit about me. And the Natural Women's Council, people always say, how did you start this group? It was we've been campaigning really as a few of us as a team for the last 6 years, since the COVID era. I call it the COVID era, when the kids were masked up and lockdowns, and mental health for children and adults was plummeting, and businesses closed. We did a lot of campaigning against those measures. And then we started the Women's Council on the 7th of July, 2022, when the government tried to erase women from the Maternity Protection Act. And then after that, it's been one thing after another, with our focus now really on the education, which is pushing in all the radical ideologies and critical social justice into schools as young as age 5.
I know, it's incredible. I say that to people. They're as young as 5 that they're talking about. What's it, 7 pages on masturbation? I think it is, isn't it?
That's for age 12. They haven't quite
age 12. Oh, they haven't gone that young. Well,
but based on, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because based on the WHO Standards of Sexuality document, which anyone can look up, WHO Standards of Sexuality in Europe, they want to teach age 4 touching oneself for pleasure, which is masturbation. But the school books are starting with age 12, teaching age 12 masturbation, and that's including how to do it, when to do it alone, and can you masturbate someone else? Certainly not something I as a mother would want my 12-year-old girl or boy to be learning in school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same with me. I have a granddaughter, 14. I wouldn't like her to know that stuff, to have to tell her, and especially getting it in school and that, so I certainly wouldn't like that either. But I knew I heard it somewhere. It was the WHO, because I kind of look in different stuff people are talking about, so I knew it's coming probably down the line that they're thinking of bringing that in. So what are the concerns about parents? Are parents coming to you with concerns about the school, about the curriculum and that. Can you tell us a bit about that? What concerns
Yeah,
that they have?
there's a lot of concerns and there's a lot of parents. We started out with only 5 mummies starting our group, and now we have a network across all of our platforms, including the groups that we campaign with, of over 100,000 people in our network. And we hear a lot of different concerns from parents. We hear that, the content in the school classroom is not age appropriate. It's highly sexual, and parents feel that anything that's sexual shouldn't be in front of children's eyes. And if a parent wants to expose their child to that, it should be in the house, not in the classroom. So there's highly sexualized, as in sex for pleasure, active consent. We talked about the masturbation, sex in all of its forms, intercourse, anal sex, oral sex, and more. So there's highly sexualized content. But the other thing that comes to us, the most common thing we're hearing now at the moment, is the gender ideology being taught as a fact to children. And in one of the books for age 12, it states from the genderbread person that you can be a boy, girl, neither or both, regardless of the sex you were assigned at birth. So, sex is not assigned at birth. Anyone who knows basic biology know that sex is determined at conception in the womb, and when the
Yeah,
sperm meets the
exactly.
egg.
Yeah.
It's not that you have a baby and say, I'm going to assign this baby a sex today. It's a boy, it's a girl, it's neither or both. As we know, one of our TDs in the doll had a baby, and he's raising it as non-binary, not a boy or a girl, because that's oppressive to have a boy or a girl. You have to let the baby choose what they want to choose. I
Choose.
mean,
It's
it's
just
insane.
incredible, isn't it? Yeah, just
It is. So
unbelievable.
there's a highly sexual content, there's the gender ideology, there's also the radical social justice. And social justice always sounds good on the surface. And years ago, I would have probably thought social justice was a good thing, but that's creating
Yeah,
a really divisive environment where you're either the oppressed, so oppressed based on your race, your skin color, your sexuality. And if you're not oppressed, then you are the oppressor. So they're teaching, you should feel privileged for being white, male, Irish. No, nobody should feel privileged for the color of their skin. That creates division. They're teaching kids
yeah,
a lot about racism, because obviously the Irish, such a racist group of people. So these things are being pushed into children's minds, and doing it under the guise of kindness and inclusivity. But parents are telling us that it's driving wedges between people, because kids are born full of love. They're born innocent and pure, as they should be. Kids shouldn't be focusing on things like skin color and sexuality and all of that nonsense. And the other thing that's coming our way quite a bit recently is that kids are coming home with what's called eco anxiety, because they're being told about the climate crisis. The world's on fire. Greta Thunberg's in the school books. Greta Thunberg has been heard saying, we want you to live in fear, like the world is blowing up. So we've had parents complain to us that kids are coming home saying, I'm not going to be able to have children. And they're very upset. And the parents are asking, well, why don't you think you'll have children? Well, the world won't be here. It's on fire. It's going to blow up. So the kids are getting this
yeah.
weight of the world on their shoulders. So I guess in summary, it's highly sexualized. There's gender ideology, radical social justice. There's class contracts parents are really upset about that kids are being asked to sign. We have the books that show that. And there was an NCCA document that says what happens in the class stays in the class. And parents are very upset
Yeah.
about that, because any responsible mother would teach a child, you don't keep secrets. We don't have secrets in our house. We don't have
Yeah,
secrets from mom or daddy. So to teach that in the classroom is really, really quite dangerous. It's something that would,
yeah,
be very predatory behavior. A predator would say, or a groomer would say, don't tell your mommy or daddy. And if a mother or father hears somebody saying to their child at a playground, don't tell your mommy, what happens behind the hedge stays behind the hedge, they'd be horrified. Well, that's what's happening in the
yes.
class.
And that's
Yeah.
what's happening in class. And the books, was it last year, the year before, the government started buying the books? Parents
That's,
didn't have to buy the books. So that was a strategic kind of a, people
yeah.
were delighted, parents were delighted, that they didn't have to buy books. But then the
Yeah,
books are staying in the classroom, they're not coming home, so parents can't see them,
that's
what's in
right.
them.
And
So it's
yeah,
all done
absolutely.
by design.
It is. And I think then,
Yeah.
about the books is, parents seem to be, what I find really astonishing as a mother to my children is, my children belong to me. They are my children. They are not the state's, but it seems that this day and age, whether parents are too busy to know or too busy to care, or whether it's lazy parenting, I don't know, but they seem more than happy to hand everything over to the state. So if the state wants to serve the children lunches in school, and we did many podcasts about these lunches, they're horrific. The nutritional content is really low. They're not tasty. The government is now coming out saying that the lunches are pretty poor, but a year and a half ago, we did a lot of research on them. But parents are so happy to say the school is going to feed my children. They're going to medicalize my children with all the flu myths in the school and all the jabs at the school. And they're going to sign class contracts and buy the books. So for both parents working, the parent drops them off at the school gate, and the school does everything. The parent only sees their child for an hour or two at night to put them to bed or maybe do their homework with them, unless they do their homework in a club. Everything is being handed over to the state, and parents are thinking it's so convenient. Isn't it great I don't have to pack lunch? Isn't it great I don't know what my kids are eating? Isn't it great I don't know what my kids are seeing? I don't even have to buy the books. This is fabulous. I don't have to buy books or feed my child or pack lunches. Fabulous. I would say, no, that's not fabulous. As a mother, as a father, your duty is to look after your child. And that is everything about your child falls onto you as a mother or father. That's their nutrition. That's what's going in their mouth. It's what's going in their mind. It's everything. Why would people celebrate and clap when the state wants to have this more of an overreach? It's beyond comprehension for myself, but a lot of parents are happy to hand everything over to the state and trust them blindly.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is that they wouldn't be concerned or inquisitive or just hand it, as you say, it's convenience. And I think it's our society has gone very convenient nowadays. Everything, tapping phone, not using cash. And I do that as well. I'm not saying I use cash all the time, but everything is convenient, ordering your food to the door, all that kind of thing. So that probably falls into that. But your children are your most precious things, that are yours, as you say, and you should be involved in that and shouldn't be handing it over to the state.
No.
And particularly maybe people aren't aware of what's going on, with the state taking it over, and I think that's why what you do is so important, that you get that message out there, because people think, isn't this great? And, as I said, buying books and all that kind of thing, giving them school dinners. Is there not something about halal meat or something going into the schools, or am I thinking of
we did.
Is it?
Yeah, we did a dive into the halal food industry in Ireland as well. The Natural Women's Council, it's not just about looking at what's in the books. That's kind of what we're focusing on probably 80% of our time at the moment, because it's so huge. But we also look at nutrition, natural health, and everything else. And we did an expose on the halal meat industry in Ireland, but also in the school lunches. So for parents who have their school lunch menu, they see the initials next to the food. So there's GF, which is gluten-free, there's V for vegetarian, and there's HF, which is halal friendly. Now, halal meat, for anyone who doesn't know, the way that halal slaughtering is done is absolutely barbaric. Animal rights activists and groups have spoken up to say it's animal cruelty. So they hang the animal upside down, they slice its throat and let the animal bleed out in pain. And some are done, I think, with a stun gun, but even with the stun gun, it's still a barbaric way for an animal to die and bleed to death. And some people are also concerned, people of Christian faith, that when the halal meat, the meat is certified halal, not only is it cruel to the animals, it's barbaric, but it has to be done by a Muslim man, and he has to bless that meat with Allah. So the meat then becomes religious meat. So for someone of Christian values, they may not want to eat religious meat, not to mention obviously the barbaric slaughtering. But we did some freedom of information requests to the Food Safety Authority of Ireland, the FSAI, and the Department of Agriculture to ask, how do we know when we buy food at our local shop if it's halal slaughtered or it's not? How is it labeled? It came back through our freedom of information request that there is no requirement for labeling. And I said, well, how would I know as a consumer if I'm buying meat in Super Value, if it's halal or not? And they said, you have to find out where it's slaughtered, find out the shop, and ring them yourself. So as a busy mom, you're running around telling Super Value or Dunn's, They expect us to look at the package, find out where it's slaughtered, and ring the factory ourselves while we're at the food shop.
Oh
There's
my God.
no requirement for labeling. That absolutely floored me. So we were digging
Yeah.
into it, and it seems that the industry, the meat industry, is probably primarily halal because it's a multi-million export business. So perhaps Board BIA and Food Safety Authority and Department of Agriculture thought the Irish will just sit this one out. They'll be quiet. We won't label it. Nobody's going to know. We'll make all of our meat halal and be able to export it to countries that only eat halal meat, because a lot of European countries have banned halal because it's so cruel to the animal. Well, guess who hasn't banned halal slaughtering? Guess who's doing it and making a lot of money? Ireland. And guess what? It's in
Ireland.
all of
Yeah.
our children's lunches without our consent
Yeah.
as parents or consumers. It's insane.
It's
Yeah.
shocking. I thought there was labels on it because somebody asked me when we were at the forum, remember the Ireland forum in January? There was a man on Facebook actually in that, because I would put a lot of stuff up there about all different subjects, and he asked me what was the code for it, and I said I'll try and find out that day, and I meant to ask. There was a farmer there and I never got, so I thought there was an actual code, and he thought that as well on the meat, because I wanted to look out. I eat a lot of steak, so I wanted to make sure I was eating. I didn't want to eat halal steak, but so there's no. You can't tell, as you say. You have to bring the factory and find out. That's incredible. It really is.
I'm going to send it to you now. You can either, I don't know if there's a way to share a screen, but I will send you the print screen of the email that came back from Minister of Agriculture, Noel Grealish's an email, and you can share it out. Let me just pop it in there. Yep. So yeah, that email that it states the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine is responsible for verifying compliance with EU labeling regulations. There is no legal requirement to indicate on labels the fact that the meat came from animals that were not stunned. There are no current discussions at EU level on mandating information on labels linked to the method of slaughter. And that is right from Bernadette Walsh, who works in the Office of Minister of State, Noel Grealish. And I have it in writing from October 4th, 2025. So we don't know when we buy food at the grocery store, we don't know if it's halal or not. So I would suggest for anyone listening to, if you want to be sure, buy it at your local butcher and ask if they slaughter it themselves. A lot of small butchers do.
Okay, yeah, I'm still looking for my share button. Where is it gone? Is that it there? Oh, there we are. Yeah. Okay. Share screen and see, can we find it here?
The same response back from the Food Safety Authority of Ireland. So in two different sources confirm that labeling is not a legal requirement. So they don't need to let consumers know what we're buying.
Okay, trying to find it here to get it up on the screen.
I think StreamYard may, I'm not sure if you can share the whole screen or not, or if it has to be in a PDF, but I just did a screen grab, so it might not work, but we can always.
I did it earlier. I did it the other day and it worked. Hold on, I'm just going to put it on to. No, that's not going to work either. Do the entire screen. No, that's just showing everything there. Oh, it's obvious when you do it in practice it works, and then when you go to share, no, that's not it.
While you're pulling that up, I'll just let the listeners know as well, as in addition to the fact that we don't have transparency on our food labels in Ireland, the other thing that doesn't have sign off is the school books. We got a Freedom of Information Act request back from the Department of Education that states that the department has no oversight, commission, or sign off on any of the books in the classroom. So if a parent is upset about what's in the book, we were advised to go to the publisher, which we did. The publisher said, go to the teacher. So they want thousands of angry parents to go shouting at the teacher about the inappropriate books when the teacher had nothing to do with that book. So the Department of Education has passed the book, and they're not taking accountability. There's no oversight, and that's why what's in the books is so horrific. Some of the stuff is just, we're doing a Instagram series we just launched a week ago called the Classroom Report. We just launched our Natural Women's Council Instagram page, and the Classroom Report are less than 2-minute clips showing the cover of the school book, what's in the book, and reading it for ourselves. And we decided to do this, one, for busy parents who don't have time to be looking through books or maybe don't believe us. But there's still a cohort of people out there that say, oh, you're just pushing an agenda. This must be, part of the far right or extremist group. So what I would ask anyone who still believes those media labels for people who are influencing the public opinion is, look at the content for yourself. Is it the people concerned about the content, or is it the actual content that's extreme? Decide for yourself.
Yeah.
So we're doing the Classroom Report. We have 2 out so far. One is on the genderbread person, telling your child they can be boy, girl, neither, or both. And the second one, what is the second one on? Trying to remember now. We have class contract coming up, masturbation, but we've done a couple already. So just to show parents, here's what's in the classroom. Don't trust us. Go buy the book yourself.
Yeah.
Look in your school. Ask to see your school books. Parents are blindly trusting the state. Those sex ed, those SPAG books don't come home. Every responsible parent should ask the school, I want to see my children's school books, and just take an evening. Go through the books, see what's in there that might not align with your moral conscience.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You can listen to us. There's angry faces coming up there. You can see them on the screen, whoever's putting them up. Why you'd be angry about this information going out, I really don't know. It's safeguarding children, so why are people so...
Maybe they're agreeing that it's wrong and angry because it's out there. Maybe
that's it. Yeah, maybe we'll be positive tonight. We will, we look on the good side. I'm assuming that, but maybe I'm wrong, because I had got a few comments during the week when I did put up information, about yourself and that, so what I'd say to people is, go, as you say, go into your school, ask to see the books yourself. If you don't believe Jana, what she's saying and what we're saying here.
Don't believe me, don't trust me. You're the mother, you're the father. Ask to see your school
exactly.
book. You might see it for yourself.
And see what reaction you get. Will they let you see it, or will, when you look at the book, you'll see this stuff, and it is shocking. This book is gay, that was on the Late Late Show. Was it last year or the year before? They brought on the author and that, and it's unbelievable what was in that book. Have people actually seen it? And they had it on the Late Late Show. It was incredible like that. And given, was it Grindr or apps for 12-year-olds to go on?
Yeah.
The dating apps or something like that, wasn't it? And
upload
images and all this kind of thing.
Upload your photo, and it marks the location of the child. So it's telling in a book.
It's a 12-year-old,
Yeah. And it's linked
incredible.
to the school.
And you went out. I remember I was trying to get out that day a few years ago. You went out to the library in Swords. And you had to have a Garda escort. And there was a reason, I think I was working or something, I couldn't get out, it was raging that day. And you had the loony lefties, I call them, with demon lefties, screaming at you. And all you wanted to do was go into that library and ask them to take that book out of the children's section and put it in the adult section. And they were all about, you're burning books, you're fascists, you're racist, the whole lot, all this up in arms and that, and that's all you wanted to do. And you had to get a Garda escort in there. I've seen some of the footage. Many years ago was that? About 3 years ago,
that was, I think, in 2023, I believe we were in Swords. And
that's what I was thinking.
After that, they all blocked the door. So all the lefties had their arms in a link. They were screeching, blowing dog horns, and they actually made special leaflets in their favorite pink and blue colors. And the leaflets were spreading misinformation about us, that we were spreading hate, we were spreading wrong information against the LGBT. Poor them, they were playing the victims. We're like, we are not going after you. We are going after inappropriate content in the children's section of the library. So we had to be escorted in because they were so aggressive. And we went into the library, looked for the books. Thanks be to God, they weren't in there. And then we left very peacefully. But the most interesting follow-up, the aftermath after that event, is it got so much traction and publicity, and parents started actually going into the library saying, I want to see these books for myself. It sparked a lot of curiosity. And the Fingal County Council had a county council meeting. They spent 30 minutes. It was recorded. I listened to all of it. 30 minutes talking about myself and the other mothers that went in, saying we were far right, we were thugs, we were spreading hate against the LGBTQs, misinformation. They did not once in that meeting mention the content of the book or what we were concerned with. They made it sound like we were these aggressive thugs going into libraries to abuse the staff, which wasn't true at all. Now, at the very end of that county council meeting, there was someone there who I think was a health and safety officer or something for the libraries. And he stated there were absolutely no incidents at all reported. It was safe, it was peaceful. So discrediting everything that the county councillors, those hard left, people before profits and soft Dems and all of them were saying about us. He said there were no incidents. And the guards were right there. If there was really an incident where we were going and being aggressive, the Gardaí were there. Don't you think that we would have been into trouble? No. So they like to try to invert it and try to make it sound like we're these, violent, hard, far-right violent thugs, because we don't want children to learn things in libraries about using a sex dating app, anal sex, fisting, blowies, handies, and more. I mean, what kind of mother or father would even want their children to have that information? If my child went on a play date and one of the parents at the play date started reading one of those books to my children and they came home and told me, I would call the guards. I'd be like, that's child abuse. But it's in the books, it's in the libraries, it's in the schools. It's crazy.
It's just incredible. And that kind of went around the country, I think, wasn't it? Ross Lahive, I think he's going into prison, I think, soon, isn't he? And he was doing it around the country.
To court. Yeah, he's going to court again. They're trying to imprison
him. Go to court, is it?
He broke up a drag queen story hour.
The drag queen story hour, sorry for cutting across. That's right. Yeah, it wasn't the books. They did do a bit of that, the drag queen story hour. Seeing that, what they were doing, and so aggressive, and there's nothing done.
The drag queen story hour, the footage had, he went in and said, this isn't for children. I mean, there was these drag queens reading to young children, and these books they're reading are inappropriate. They're dressed inappropriately, and it was behind closed doors. An event that is about adult fetishes and adult sexuality should be nowhere near children. So shame on the library for having it. Shame on the drag queens for doing it. But shame on those mothers and fathers for bringing their innocent children to see this highly sexual fetish event. So when Ross and a few people walked in, the Rainbow Mafia pulled out their rainbow umbrellas, and the umbrellas started shooting out. It was crazy, but Ross is the one getting in trouble. He ripped up a book that he bought himself, as his optics to rip up the book, but it was one he bought. They said he was being aggressive. It's like, no, he's breaking up an event that's sexual, that the children were at. He's actually not the villain here. The villain is the library staff and the drag queens trying to sexualize these children. Let's call a spade a spade.
Spade a spade. They don't like the truth. I always say about the story time, why don't they go into old folks' home and read stories to the old folk? They would love that. Why do they have to pick?
They can't groom Granny. They can't groom Granny. They want to groom the children.
They can't groom Granny. They're trying to get to the children. It's just incredible. When you ask them questions or ask them, you're just a bigot, you're just a transphobia and all that kind of thing. It's just incredible. What about the CAS report that, as we said, Ireland's always behind and stuff like that, which was released, was it 2 years ago as well? And there's no mention of it here.
Yeah, I think it was in 2024, April 2024. It's a few hundred pages long. And in summary, the CAS report basically states that, it talks about how to treat gender dysphoria in youth, but regarding the work that we do, it states that children should not be socially transitioned. Pronouns are not a neutral territory, and you should not transition a child outside a clinical, which is a medical setting. So a classroom isn't clinical, a classroom isn't medical, but what teachers are doing when they accept or promote pronouns, and in the NCCA document on how to create an inclusive classroom, it states, teacher, introduce yourself with your pronouns. Don't use gender normative language like mother, father, boy, and girl, because we can't use that language anymore. Use your pronouns. But they are going against the medical best practice of the CAS report, that pronouns are not neutral. Socially transitioning children outside a clinic is dangerous. And now we see that the puberty blockers are halted because they're dangerous and they're sterilizing children. In fact, it came out in England that one of the reasons it was halted is that a child was having to be informed that this can affect their fertility down to age 10. Kids who are taking these blockers, they're becoming sterilized. These children are being harmed for life. And so that's the CAS report. But following the CAS report, the HHS report came out in the United States, which many experts have said that actually supersedes and is even better and stronger than the CAST report, but still says, gender confused children shouldn't be socially transitioned. So what's happening in Irish schools is not only defying biology and common sense, but it's ignoring medical best practice. So one thing that the Natural Women's Council did about a week ago is we wrote a letter to Allianz, which is one of the largest insurers in Ireland who insure schools against damages that might happen to a pupil, accidents on site or whatever. And a detailed letter was sent to Allianz. We've yet to hear back, asking would they cover the damages for a school if something being taught has no risk assessment, which the books don't, no safeguarding statement, which they don't have, and no sign off, and it defies the CAST report. Would they cover losses if a mother or father goes to sue the school if their child is harmed emotionally, psychologically, or physically? And we specifically quoted the CAST report. We also provided Allianz with examples of lawsuits in other countries. The most recent one was a girl sued and won $2 million because she had a mastectomy at age, I think she was 13. And she sued for $2 million because she should not have had her breasts removed, and she won. So if children in Ireland are being led down a path where they believe they can be a boy, girl, neither, or both, and I as a mother want to sue that school, who's liable? The teacher, the principal, the board of management, because their insurance may not cover those losses. They won't be indemnified.
Yeah. And I'd say as soon if they are asked that question or if that comes up, they will soon back off in teaching it in the school or mention it in the school if they think that they're going to be sued, for pursuing this. So that should be brought up by parents to them, you know what I mean, as well, to say like who's going to be liable if this child. I mean, imagine a 13-year-old getting a mastectomy. It's just incredible, really. It is, and I think America, are they way ahead of us in that kind of, obviously because it's a bigger country and
they did go way ahead, but they're reeling back on it now with the new administration who realizes, there's only two sexes, male, female, you can't change your sex, boys shouldn't play against girls in sports. So for the most part, they're kind of reeling back, as well as, England's reeling back a bit, Northern Ireland, Hungary, other countries. But Ireland, the question is, will Ireland be like the Japanese soldier when the whole woke thing collapses and they realize the collateral damage to these children is colossal? Will Ireland still be hanging all the woke flags, pushing it ahead? Like, the war is still going, the Japanese soldier.
Keeping it going.
How many kids are going to be harmed? I mean, there was a few hundred children were sent over to the Tavistock before it shut down, and the Tavistock gender clinic shut down because basically for malpractice. Whistleblowers came forward and said children were going down a dangerous path without proper assessment, so they had to shut down. But a few hundred children in Ireland went over there, and I think the youngest was 5 years old. Some mother in Ireland thought her 5-year-old should go to a gender clinic. It's beyond belief.
Well, it's unbelievable to think a mother would send a 5-year-old to Tavistock. And I've heard about Tavistock, and it's pure evil. I won't go into it now, what goes on behind the scenes, and thank God it was closed down. I'm just thinking of the thalidomide babies from the 60s, and somebody was comparing, it might have been yourself, when that was taken off the market in UK, I presume it was.
Ireland
it was a few years later. We were still a few years later before, and there was more babies damaged and born like that. So it's incredible that we're
and the swine flu vaccine damaged so many children in Ireland. They were getting narcolepsy. There's one down here in County Meath, I think, got a damages of maybe 900,000 or something. Children were being given this injection vaccination for swine flu and getting narcolepsy, which is a serious sleep disorder. So, that happened. Thalidomide happened. We see 26,000 excess deaths after the COVID shot rolled out in 2021, but the government doesn't want to talk about those 26,000 excess deaths. And they just keep pushing it along. And now puberty blockers and hormones. I mean, these poor children are getting so harmed. It's really time for parents to be their child's advocate and do their own research rather than trust the state blindly.
Yeah, and there you have puberty blockers. Minister for Education, wasn't she? McEntee. I hate even calling them by their first name. Her husband is a board of director or CEO or something of, what's it called? I can't even think of the name of it now.
AbbVie.
AbbVie. who
Yeah,
sells puberty blockers. So there's a conflict of interest of
there is.
her,
And that was
being
another
the,
letter.
you know,
We write a lot of letters. We wrote a letter
I
on
know,
that.
I see, I see
That
it a
one
lot,
was,
in the group and that, yeah.
yeah, we wrote a letter about, did Miss Helen McEntee, Minister McEntee, when she was the Minister for Justice and then Minister for Education, did she declare her possible conflict of interest because she pushed the gender into the hate crime bill? Remember, she went in and said about 72 genders, she stated, and then
Oh, I
she put
remember
it
it,
in
yeah.
the classroom. So when we wrote to Standards in Public Office, SIPO, they came back and said, we've decided not to investigate your complaint. Really? You just made the decision to just ignore it. So I kind of pushed
Really?
further and said, I'd like to do a freedom of information request to see who decided not to investigate. What were the meetings about this? I want all the documents. And I did a long Freedom of Information Act request. It came back 3 pages, redacted top to bottom, big black boxes.
Well,
So they did have a discussion and they did research it, but it was all blacked out. So what are they hiding and why? So Minister
right,
McEntee
exactly.
and Paul Hickey is a director at AbbVie who produced Lupron, that puberty blocker. Meanwhile, she's pushing this gender woo right into legislation in the classrooms. And now she's on her third minister job as Minister for Foreign Affairs. So, it's just,
Foreign Affairs, yeah, she is now. Couldn't think what she is, yeah. So she's making her way around,
you can't keep a
and
job. It's like the Grim Reaper. She's like goes around and
yeah,
Department of Justice destroy, Education destroy, Foreign Affairs now
destroy,
I want
yeah.
neutrality. I mean, goodness
Oh my
sake.
God, it's incredible. It really is, and most of them haven't got qualifications to be in them jobs. A lot of them, when you think of it, oh, I can't even bear saying their names or even thinking about them because they're
Yeah.
um, just pure evil, what they're pushing and stuff like that. I'm going to try and share. I'll do it again. I didn't get that one earlier on. I'm going to try and share the books, maybe what's in them, because we're talking. I have a list here of stuff to talk about, so I just want to make sure we get everything in. So you're approving. We said the CAS report, puberty blockers, and I just want to see. Can I share this? Because I've never shared before, so this will be a first as well. When I get the WhatsApp opened up. But do you want to talk about the CAS report? Who was involved in that, or do you know, or have you read it or anything like that? Go into more detail because people probably say, "What is that about?" I know they can research it and that, but it was a few years coming
Yeah, it
to
was commissioned
completion? Is
by
that the
the
word?
NHS. So it was commissioned by the NHS, and it was a pediatrician, Hilary Cass, was on this group to research how to treat gender confused children, and it's about 300 pages long. Anyone can just Google Cass review, and it will come up. It's a very long report. I have read it all, but my head blocks out a lot of it. But we did a couple podcasts on
Yeah,
it, but. It was about a year and a half ago it came out. So it basically is how to treat children with gender dysphoria. Now, puberty blockers, the one thing I did disagree with Dr. Cass on is there was something they were looking at doing a puberty blocker trial. So a trial for children with the puberty blockers. Whereas because of the harms they cause, I don't think any child should be on a trial for this at all. Like, children will be harmed, so the trial shouldn't happen. And my understanding it's changed a lot the last few weeks, but England halted the trial due to that. I think it was the fertility issue, but I'm just looking it up now just to see if I can do a quick summary of the CAS review because it's so long.
yeah. I've never read it. I've just heard bits about it and stuff like that. I'm trying to figure out. I have them on the screen, but for some reason I cannot get the app. Almighty.
Yeah, so
Sure.
so I can just, while you're looking for that, I just did a quick summary here, and it was commissioned by the NHS in England in 2020. The final report, yes, was about a year and a
Here
half
we are.
ago, April 2024. And the main report concluded that there was extremely weak evidence supporting the use of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones in children and young people, especially regarding long-term outcomes. There's no evidence to say that they're safe. Some treatments were being given without the same level of evidence required in other pediatric care. Professionals often felt unable to express concerns openly due to the toxic public discourse around gender identity, which hampered good clinical practice. So there was that basically states that, people didn't dare to challenge it because, as you know, if you challenge it, you're transphobic, you're this, you're hateful. Well, therefore children were harmed. So it does state that there should be extreme caution, and also pronouns are not a neutral territory. So for any school using pronouns, NCCA directing using pronouns are socially transitioning a child. You are affirming to that little boy or that little girl their chosen gender when it's not the sex they were born. That is very, very dangerous territory, and a credit to the Countess organization, who has been publishing a lot of information about the legality of pronouns. It's not in law, non-binary is not even in legislation. So follow the Countess on X. They've done great work producing some school guides in relation to pronouns as well. And like the Natural Women's Council, the Countess take a very evidence-based approach. It's all based on facts.
Yeah.
So,
I know. I've seen it. I follow them as well. Maybe not on Twitter, but I do watch. I get emails, actually. I'm subscribed to them, so I kind of keep up with their stuff. They're brilliant. They actually are. So yeah, you can see that screen there. That's one of the book. Can you see it? You can.
Yes, this is the one on lesson 17. It states for your child, congratulations, you're becoming a sexual being, developing sexual desires. I find this little cartoon a bit disturbing. Mommy and daddy walking in on this little ginger-haired boy. Looks like he's doing something under his duvet. So there's that. And then there's all the different activities there. It's all about desire.
What age would that, what age would that be going out to? What book is that in, and what age?
About 13. This is, I think,
13,
well-being.
that is,
13, about 13. I think this is the Well-Being Book 2, which has a red cover, if I can recall, which is the Book 2 of Junior Cycle, about age 13. And what people need to realize is in this book that two things. One is Gill Education is the publisher. They used to have the full book on their website. You could go right to gilleducation.ie and you could view the entire book, start to finish, beginning to end. However, when we started flagging the very highly sexual pieces, they stopped the viewing online right before the dirty stuff. Right? They cut it off now so parents can't see it, and the book's locked up at school. So My Wellbeing Journey 2, red cover. What it's basically teaching children is that sex is for pleasure. So in here you can see on the desire, arousal, and pleasure. Sexual desires, congrats, you're a sexual being. So this is putting in that young person's mind whose body's going through puberty that it's all feels good. It's arousal, it's pleasure. And that's really what it focuses on. You can go to the next page as well. I think it gets even worse as time as the pages go on.
God, it could get worse. Yeah, there we are.
See the pictures there, the pictures of the masturbation. Talks about what is masturbation. There's individual activities on it. There's group activities. If you flip the page, I think there's one that says, can you masturbate someone else? So
what can I trying to see, can I kind of make it a bit bigger?
Oh yeah, that's bigger. That's better.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah. So you can actually see it. So masturbation by age. Oh God.
Yep. And it does say wanking up there. You can actually see in the top right corner of the book. I do remember seeing that.
Up here.
Yeah, they're talking about known as wanking. So your age 13-year-old girl can learn about masturbation and then wanking. Isn't that wonderful for your little girl at school?
Yeah, it's just wonderful. Yeah, God.
Deviant, and is the depravity being pushed, and kids don't go to school to learn this garbage. I mean,
No, they don't.
Back in the 70s and 80s, how did kids learn to masturbate? They didn't learn it in school in the classroom. They were in their own dignity in their own room alone, as it should be. They shouldn't be about it with their class.
Should be. Yeah, exactly. And it's so embarrassing if there is a mixed class, boys and girls. My granddaughter's in a mixed school. And Urian talking about this, I'd say she would be so embarrassed. I don't know about the boys, what way they would have it, but definitely young girls would be highly embarrassed by this. Now, my daughter, we had a discussion in the car because I keep an eye on my granddaughter, Hallie. I used to bring her to school, so she's well up on it and, everything because I'm her grandmother. But I'm always saying to her, are they talking about that? Yes, the trans stuff. What are they saying? And she was... I must ask her again. I haven't seen her this weekend. I normally see her on the Friday. They were doing this sexual stuff and that she was saying it to me. And my daughter then was dismissing it and saying, oh, it's just the boring stuff like put on a condom and all that kind of thing. And I said, have you seen the books? Do you know the stuff? And she just dismissed it and that, you know. So I think a lot of parents would probably be the same and
Yeah.
dismissing it. When I, in the comments, when I think I put up something, I think it was advertising you coming on, I think it was something I put up. Maybe it was a video that you had or something just a few weeks ago. And I think I was saying it in the WhatsApp group in the East Wall. The comments were the same. There was a lot of comments where people were saying, "Oh, it's the same as what we learned 20 years ago. It's boring. It's this, that, and the other." There was a lot of parents, I'd imagine their parents, saying
Denial is a
that.
very comfortable place. Parents who think
Yeah,
that
I
it's not
suppose. Yeah,
happening, they don't want to
yeah,
know. They just don't want to know, because then if they know, they actually have to lead a difficult conversation with their school. They
yeah,
have to do their duty
hmm
as a parent, and they have to have a conversation. And
yeah,
it's easy just to go, no, I don't want to hear this. Hear no evil, see no evil.
yeah,
Well, if we look at all the
yeah,
abuse that happened in Ireland years ago, well, look how that turned out when people didn't speak up. So parents need to wake up and ask to see their school books. Don't trust us. But the classroom report we've launched on Instagram, 90 second clips,
yeah,
2 minute clips of the book pages. We're going to show everyone the cover of the book, show them what's in the book, and say, judge for yourself if you want your child to learn this.
yeah. That's it. We'll go on to the next one. Is there another one there? Hold on. What is it? Hold on. Oh, there's it.
Oh, this one is,
Let's make that a bit bigger as well.
So they get to learn what animals masturbate, so they can learn about the
Oh my
wanking
God.
squirrel, or the masturbating elephant, or the little
Jesus.
gorilla, or the hedgehog, or whatever that is. And then there's paired
Oh,
activities. It's great that your child, the boys and girls in class can pair up together and talk about masturbation before they go off to
oh
lunch.
my God. Lunch or come home to their parents. It's just, oh, even talking about it turns my stomach. You know, you saying that word even turns my stomach. That, and
Yeah.
to think that's okay to be discussing it in the school. What's the teachers? Because I was just saying it to the lady I live with. She's an elderly lady. She'll be 90 this year, and I'm trying to say it to her. You know what's going on, just to. And she has two daughters that are teachers now. They're secondary education and that. You know, I'd be dying to talk about it, but I don't. But she was saying that, like, are parents not involved? Are parents not asking this question? Or the teachers? Sorry, she was saying the teachers. Are they teaching this? You know, are they not?
It's mixed. Some teachers
Yeah,
say, "Oh, we haven't seen any of this in my school. We don't teach any of this stuff." But we have different publishers' books. We did fundraisers. Anybody wants to throw in naturalwomen'scouncil.com. We need to buy another batch of school books because we want to do the homework for parents. And
yeah,
the books are published by either Folins, Gill, Edco, I think educate.ie. There's a load of different publishers. We have books from all the publishers. They all have the gender nonsense. They all have active consent, sex for pleasure, talking not about marriage and having a family, but things like contraception and abortion. So no wonder Ireland's birth rate is below replacement level. They're not teaching children that they can get married and have a family. They're teaching them they can have sex, use a condom, but if you make a mistake, then you can just have an abortion. So, this is what they're being
yeah.
taught. So for any teacher saying it's not in the books, I'd like to know what books they have, because we should be recommending those books to schools if there's books that don't have any of this in it. But all the ones
Yeah, are they just covering themselves really by saying that, you know, and hoping parents won't kind of look into it or research it or anything like that? That's probably what they're hoping, and it gets them off the hook.
and
But
this
I
is the
couldn't
one,
imagine if I was a teacher. Sorry,
is it
go
possible
ahead.
to masturbate someone else? There it is. That's the page I find really disturbing, that it's basically teaching age 12, 13-year-old boys and girls, is it possible to masturbate someone else? Is that
Oh,
really,
Jesus
parents
Christ.
listening? I know it's uncomfortable. I know you don't want to
Yeah,
hear that in your child's classroom. I get that. It's
yeah,
upsetting. But
yeah,
the honest question I would ask every mother or father listening, or grandmother or grandfather, is, do you want your child to be learning this in the classroom?
yeah. Of course you wouldn't. Any
Most
normal
people,
parent would say, no, I don't, you know. And just to turn a blind eye is just it's incredible that parents would do that, you know, about this and just let it go on and not want to
yeah,
do anything or pull the school up about it. It's just incredible.
yeah.
Um, so is there one with the contract on it or anything like that? No, here I can't see.
I'm
That's
not
the
sure if I
last one
sent
there.
that one, but there is a class contract in
Yeah,
most of the most of the and it's funny, the class contracts aren't in the math books or geography or history or religion.
No, no, they wouldn't be.
Yes,
No,
your child learning about the masturbation or the, being a boy, girl, neither or both, or all this stuff. The class contracts are in the sex ed books. They're not in the math books. So your child is
no,
being asked to sign a class contract. Now, it should be illegal for anyone under 18 to be asked to sign any contract. You
yeah,
don't keep secrets from mommy and daddy. You don't sign a contract, that you're not going to bring any information
taught you.
home or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it is. I had to say that just that basic thing to some people, and the shock on their face, and they say that's not how. I says it is actually. What is
Yeah.
that? Just secondary at the minute?
It
These
is.
books.
Secondary has the class
Yeah,
contract. So this is all secondary
yeah.
school, age 12. Now, people think that in
Okay.
primary school, that Miss Helen McEntee went out and said that the transgender ideology or whatever she used was not in primary school. But that's a blatant lie. And we created our Connect Ed guide, which anyone can look at on naturalwomenscouncil.com. On the very front page, you can click on Connect Ed right across the front page, and it brings you right to our Connect Ed campaign. We spent the summer, our volunteers, writing a 20-page guide, a toolkit for parents. In the guide, we dedicated a page to ex-Minister for Education, Helen McEntee, and everything she said about transgender not being in primary schools. However, it is because it's in the B Canalta anti-bullying policy. That brings
Okay.
transgender issues, as Roderick O'Gorman said in, I think, 2022 or 2023, he wants to bring transgender issues to primary school. That's how they did it. The B Canalta anti-bullying policy is the conduit for bringing transgenderism down to age 5 junior infants. It's specified in the anti-bullying policy about don't be,
Yeah.
transphobic, homophobic. Well, how is an age 5 going to learn not to be transphobic unless he or she knows what transgender means? And how can an age
Means.
5
Yeah.
get their head around it? So
Yeah.
it is
Exactly.
in there. And it's also the Be Canalta policy, which means be kind, is anything but kind. If it's in the policy that everyone should embrace this transgenderism, what happens to children like mine who know there's only two sexes? They know a man isn't a woman, but suppose they had a male teacher that said, "Hi, everybody, I'm she, her. I want you to call me Miss Daisy Duke." And my kid said,
Yeah.
"Sorry, mister, you're not a woman." Could they be
Yeah.
reprimanded for bullying? Yes, they could under the policy. So it's forcing them to be an ally and believing in this fantasy, this gender garbage that is not real. It is fake. You cannot change sex. If people say, yes, you can change sex. No, actually, you can't change sex.
No, you can't. No.
Once you're born a man, sorry, you can put on a
Yeah.
dress or chop anything off. You're still a man.
You're still a man, and the bone structure is a man. Like if you was to die and you dig up that body in a few years' time, it would be, people would say it was a man. It's not a woman. As
Yep,
you say, you can put on a dress, a wig, and get new boobs. And people are saying you can, but most of them don't get the full operation. They still have
that's
the
right.
man bits. The women has the women bits. You know what I mean? Very rarely do they go the full hog of that because it's very dangerous. It's very serious. It could be lifelong, but they would be lifelong
And for many of
patients
them,
and all that kind of
many
thing.
many of these men identifying as a woman, I don't think they ever want to chop it off because actually they're just cross dressers who have fetishes. They're going in to use women's toilets because they
Yeah.
have a fetish of wearing women's clothes. They're narcissists. They want us to believe they're a woman. And as they strut into our toilets wearing their dress with their heels and their hairy legs hanging out, no, no, you're not a woman and you
Yes.
shouldn't be using my toilet and you shouldn't be competing against girls in sports.
No, definitely not. And I always think of my 14-year-old granddaughter in a toilet and a man like that comes in. Now, it hasn't happened to her, but,
Mm-hmm.
she's on a period or something like that. And this man comes in the toilet next to her, how would she feel? And, it'd be very distressing for her and that. So who wants that? It's just ridiculous. We mentioned Kelly J. Jean before that, people mightn't have heard of her about it before. She does Trojan walk like yourself. And she has been all over the world. And she was been in Ireland, actually. I didn't get in to see her. And I learned so much watching her about autogynephile. Is that what you call it? For
Ophelia, yeah.
men. I could never say it right. And isn't it men that have this, like you say, that fetish and that, and they get turned on by going into women's spaces and all that? It's just sickening when you actually look into it. And only for her, like watching her videos, I never knew about it. I would have I actually filmed a transgender man a few years ago when I was doing my video when I had my business, and I went in. He was celebrating Transgender Day, and he see me came. I met him through LinkedIn because I'd be posting and all that kind of thing about doing video and all that. And I went in with my son. I like that. It was just this thin little man in a dress. He was a man in a dress, but I had no problems with him, and I treated him respectfully and put the mic on and all that kind of thing. And he wanted to show he worked in Irish Life, I think it was, and they helped him, when he was transitioning and all this kind of thing. They wanted to make this video to thank him and stuff like that. And I knew none of, what I know now, and that, I still wouldn't have a problem. I still would have went in and been respectful to him the way I was. But it's just incredible when I look back now that I had no clue about, all this going on and in schools and all the kind of thing. Well, it's probably only starting to come into schools at this stage, So when people say you're transphobic and something, I say, well, I'm not actually, I'm protecting children and women,
If
these
people
men
ask me
going into this
if
place.
people ask me if I'm transphobic, I say no. I'm not scared of what doesn't exist. There are trans identifying people, but not trans people. There's man and there's woman, boy and there's girl. There's nothing in between, unless someone is 1 in a million born, as intersex or something like that, which is a medical condition completely different. But I'm not transphobic because I don't believe that a man can be a woman or be transgender. He's a man, and no, I am scared of him going into my daughter's space. I was at the swimming pool about a year or two ago, and there were a few young girls there, probably age 12 and 13. And I heard them talking, and they were saying that in their school, the school was moving to they call it gender neutral toilets, which it's mixed toilets, letting boys use the girls' toilets. And these girls said that the boys were messing as boys do, looking under the stall and seeing the girl under there and messing around. These girls were saying that during their time of the month, their menstrual cycle, they do not use the toilet because they're so embarrassed. They either stay home from school or they hold it all day. And some of the girls were saying that they were getting UTIs, urinary tract infections, or kidney infections because they aren't using the toilets because they don't feel safe in a space where boys can use the girls' toilets. And they're holding it all day, or they're missing school, or they just don't drink water during the day. Because if they drink water, they'll have to go to the toilet because the boys will go in there. I mean, that's so cruel. That's stripping
Isn't
the girls'
dignity.
Women didn't fight for this. Women didn't ask. Girls didn't ask. Aggressive for us to lose our single-sex spaces in sports to confused boys and confused men who want us to play in their game. No.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, you're right. When I just stop sharing, I'm just conscious we're coming up to the hour, and we haven't mentioned there's a survey. Oh, hold on, what should I do there? Yeah, can you still see that? No,
I can see it. I don't see any shares.
Oh yeah, sorry. Well, no, I'm actually here. Oh, there you are. Yeah, I just couldn't see you, so I thought you had disappeared. Yeah, there's a survey, isn't it, that you were promoting? Let's see, can I get it up here? Where can't I?
We were doing the job of the Department of Education and the National Parents Council, the Natural Women's Council were at the forefront of this over the last 2 weeks. There's a national convention on education happening. So if you're a visual person like me, I got my head around it by saying the national convention is the umbrella. So there's a big convention going on. And in preparation for the convention, they're doing a national conversation on education whereby there's a survey, which they didn't invite parents to attend. And there were different meetings around the country. I went to one last Saturday with the National Parents Council put on. And then they did 2 online sessions. But again, unless you signed up to the National Parents Council email list, you wouldn't have known that these were on. I signed up, but anyone who's not an email subscriber wouldn't have known. So the question I had was, and I wrote last week, I wrote 2 letters to every TD and every senator. I wrote 1 letter to every school and 1 letter to the press. It was crickets, nobody replied, asking how can this be a proper consultation to get parents' feedback when parents were not invited. We were sidelined. Well, interestingly enough, tonight at 5:10 this evening, after business hours on a Friday, I got a very long email from the Department of Education. And the department, actually, sorry, not the Department of Education. Came from National Conversation on Education. So they work for the department, but it's the branch that's organizing this national conversation. And he said that on the 29th of January, a message went to, I think it was 3,900 schools. So every school in Ireland, primary and secondary, they got a message to pass the survey on to parents. But I didn't get it through my school.
No.
I went out to my groups, and out of all the groups of hundreds of parents, I think only 2 actually got it. So that principal from those schools must have seen the survey and sent it to their parents and their teachers. But for the most part, none of us got it. So I wrote a letter back to this national conversation email address to say, please show me where the email was. Give me a copy of the email that my school got with the date on it. I want to know what they got and what you asked them to do. And then did you follow up with principals to say, did you send this to parents? So he came back and said there's, I think, 47,000 responses, and that their key stakeholders got packets about the survey. We know who their stakeholders are. Those are the NGOs. Those are the belong tos and the tenants and that. So 47,000 responses. My big concern is those 47,000 responses weren't from parents like me. Who were they from? Because I didn't know about the survey. So when we found this survey, we did a couple podcasts on it. We've been tweeting it out. We did press releases, but I don't think it's been published. Gript did publish it. Eugene Garvin, our researcher, talked to Gript, and they did publish a lengthy article. So for anyone who reads Gript, they'll see it. We did the podcast, we did tweets, we did letters to every school, trying our best to get it out there. But really, this is a stealth operation. The government has decided not to involve parents, or maybe they meant to, but someone forgot to send the message to schools, or maybe they sent it, but somebody told principals don't send it out. We don't know, but we are.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, but they're blocking it. Yeah, no matter what. Yeah, exactly.
I think the reason is, and this is a big credit to our followers and supporters who do so much work on the ground, is they did not want parents to do the survey because they know now parents are angry. They know the work that we've done with all the leaflets and conversations and conferences. They know that the genie is out of the bottle, and if the survey went out to parents, they know there's going to be concerns. So they thought, we'll just sideline the parents. We'll just have the NGO parents do it. 32,000 NGOs. If those employees do it, well, there's your 47,000. That's
exactly what happened. Yes, and probably all paid well for it and all that. Yeah. So what are you promoting that to get it out there to parents? Sorry for cutting across you there.
The survey deadline is tomorrow. So tomorrow, does that mean at 12:01 this evening, midnight, or does that mean noon tomorrow? We don't know. So the deadline they've stated is February 8th, which is tomorrow. So we're asking everyone to survey. So get your feedback in. But at the very end of the survey, after you go through it, you can upload your own document, a PDF or Word document. We encourage everyone to upload their own. It's up to 1,000 words, but you can put 20 words if you want. If you don't save a document and upload it, what you submit disappears forever. So when the survey results are published, you can never validate, was my feedback included? So like we did a submission for the National Women's Council, we did 1,000 words. Other groups that we work with, Irish Education Alliance, Parents' Rights Alliance, Catholic Secondary School Parents Association, they'll do their submission. We will print off ours, and when they publish it, we're going to look and see, did they actually include our detailed submission or not? So we are advising everyone to do it, to save down upload your comments at the end on a document, save it down. But we also are demanding from the TDs and the Department of Education. We sent another email yesterday, and also to the Secretary General, Breda McNally of the Department of Education, saying that this should be extended now. We demand an extension to the survey and make sure that parents get a formal invite with a chance to have their say, and that the convention should be transparent. So the convention, which is another interesting thing, is only 30 parents in the entire country, nationwide, are attending this convention to represent thousands of parents. 30 parents, 30 students, 30 teaching staff, and 60 stakeholders. So the parents are 30, but the stakeholders are 60. Stakeholders are the NGOs. Those are your NGOs, your belong to pennies, I'm sure, and all your trans activist groups. So that just shows the contempt they have for parents. They didn't ask for our feedback, and they didn't ask if we wanted to go to the convention. And for those that knew about the convention, there's only 30 parents going. I wonder who those 30 parents will be.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. I wonder who then parents are, authority, and how do they know about it? So they have to be involved with NGOs or something like that.
Of course,
these groups.
And I'm
Yeah,
sure they
of
won't
course they
live
would.
stream it. If they really wanted this conversation to really be transparent for every parent to watch who couldn't get in for one of those 30 tickets, golden tickets, they should live stream it and have everybody in the country be able to watch this conference. It goes over 4 weekends.
Yeah,
So it's 2
watch it.
weekends
Yeah,
for November, but no, they won't. It'll be behind closed doors, locked right up with their 30 parents they select and their 60 NGOs.
yeah. Incredible. It really is
It really,
incredible. And you put the video out yesterday, the psychology. I read it. I must go in and comment on YouTube about it. It was brilliant
yeah,
and shocking at the same time that people,
yeah.
children going in have to be affirmed. What's the word he said instead of
Mandated reporting. So well,
yeah,
the therapist body, so the largest therapist body is still recommending an exploratory approach, a talk therapy, which is the right thing.
exploratory. That's the word. Yeah,
Or,
yeah. They
but some therapists are somehow taking it upon themselves to just
yeah,
affirm the gender. So my question was, if I, as a mother, send a gender confused child to this therapist thinking they're going to be treated, talked to, and explored, but they just affirm them, if I want to take a lawsuit and that therapist goes against the body's advice, who's liable? Will their
yeah,
insurance cover it? And so that's interesting. But the same group, this is really interesting, fresh off the press tonight, a little bit of scandal. We like a bit of Friday night
yeah.
scandal.
Oh, we
And this
love it. Yes, Scandal. Yeah,
Facebook group that I actually joined because I'm a coach and NLP practitioner and therapist, so I'm technically a therapist. I joined this
yeah,
group, and I'll just dig out the name of it. Anybody can look it up themselves. There's a group in Ireland called Counselors and Psychotherapists Connect. It's a Facebook group. It's the largest one for therapists and counselors in Ireland. This is the
yeah.
same group that dogpiled, doxed, and blocked and banned Ian Cox, who I interviewed. Tonight, someone posted that interview onto this Facebook group so they could
Group.
just see what, a therapist in Ireland is saying. They got
Yeah.
blocked and banned, and anyone commenting got blocked and banned.
Oh,
And I
for
got
God's
blocked and
sake,
banned.
Jesus!
Even as the one who did the interview, I was blocked and banned. So that just
You
shows you
serious?
this group
Yeah,
of psychotherapists and counselors on this Counselors and Psychotherapists Connect, they just validated everything Ian said in that interview, that they will block and
yeah.
ban, have any dissenting voice, or you challenge anything other than the gender affirmative approach. And these are people treating your children. These are people treating your
I
children.
know.
They only want
Yeah,
the gender affirmative approach. So there you go. So they
yeah.
validate that we'll be
They
calling them.
validated what he actually said because I was literally when you mentioned him, I was going to say, is that the group he was talking about in the
Yeah,
video that they
yeah,
blocked him and docked him, and so they blocked us. So, what is it with these people that they don't? I know because it's not based on science. Why is it they don't listen to? Well, I suppose they've no argument. I'm answering myself as I'm asking it. Why they keep blocking people and not hearing the other side, like a debate or something like that. As I say to people, how come we don't have a debate on the Late Late Show anymore? The for against, how come it's all
yeah.
one
So
sided? You know,
yeah,
yeah, why is there no
yeah,
debate anymore? And they look at you. I said, remember years ago, they used to have a debate. Gabe Byrne had people on for and against. I said, you never see that. You're just seeing one side on that Late Late Show.
yeah,
Why don't
yeah.
they have a debate on both sides? Because they can't. They don't have an argument really at the base. That's the idea,
That's
the
yeah.
answer, I suppose. But it's just
And
shocking to think that children going into a therapist and parents putting their trust and it's just been affirmed straight away. It's not explored to see where it's coming from. Like he was brilliant on it.
yeah,
He what you call it, explained it perfectly.
and it's the
What is
only
supposed to happen?
illness. It's the only psychiatric or any type of illness that you would just affirm. So if a child, went in and said, I'm suicidal or I'm depressed or anxious or I feel that I'm fat, I have, they're anorexic, you would never affirm and say, oh yes, you are fat, stop eating. Or you'd never say,
Yeah,
you're suicidal. Okay, you are suicidal, off you go. I mean, you
yeah,
never would do that. Or if you went into a
no,
doctor with, let's just say, an ache in your shoulder, they would never just not explore it, not treat it, not scan it, not look at
yeah,
it. But gender confusion is the only thing that without discussion, they will just go, yes, you are confused, and
yeah,
yes, you are in the wrong body. It's astonishing. So
yeah.
that
It
advice
is.
is,
It is.
vet your therapist. If your child goes to a therapist, there's a very high chance they're going to go to an activist who will just gladly push them right down the transgenderism route.
Jesus Christ.
This
And it's such a sinister route to go down. Like, I've seen American children that have transitioned, and they're heartbreaking, heartrending stories when you look at them, that they got their breasts removed when they were 12 or 14. And it's just, oh my God, your heart would go out to them and
they're,
their
they're,
lives.
yeah,
Some of them, might be able to have children, but a lot of them don't. They kind of went that far down it. And the people only seeing that. And these therapists, of all people, pushing them down that route to that, it's just like there's no coming back from it. I
no,
think I seen something in a Facebook group the other day, and somebody was saying puberty blockers are reversible. No, they're not.
no.
I'm presumed they're not. Well, not presumed, they're not. Once you start taking them and go
Not,
down
and
that
there's not
road.
enough long-term data. The data that has come out shows it's very dangerous, but there's not even enough
Yeah,
long-term data to show the long-term damages. But, it's
yeah,
like it's parents who are allowing their children to have these, blockers and hormones and surgeries. That child is too young to consent. It's like a child. You would never let a 5-year-old child get a tattoo. If my kids who are 7 and 10 said, Mommy, I want a tattoo, I'd be like, you having a laugh? I'm in
yeah,
my 50s and I don't even have a tattoo because I'd be bored wearing the same pair of shoes for 3 years. I'd be afraid if I get something permanent, you'd be sick of it in a few years. Well, a child,
yeah,
how can a child make a decision that affects the rest of their
yeah.
life, their body? I
Their
mean,
life, yeah.
I think
It's
those children are
just,
going to wake up hating their parents. I think when those kids are 18, just like that trans identifying shooter, he went and shot his mother first before he killed those children in that
did he?
school.
Oh my
Shot
God.
his own mother because she did it to him. So anyone out there who thinks it's kind and inclusive, when that child turns 18 or 20 or 25, they're going to turn on their mommy because their mommy butchered
Yeah,
them.
yeah, exactly. Oh my God. On that note, we're 20 to 10 at this stage. Is there anything else we haven't covered, Janet, that you want to speak of? We've covered loads there, and but is
Yeah,
there
I'm trying.
anything in particular that I haven't? I'm trying to have a look on the WhatsApp that you sent me here. Hold on.
I think the main thing
Um,
is not to be silent. There's so many parents out there that
yes,
they just they just don't want to know. Everything's fine. I don't want to know. That's not happening. It's like don't want to hear it. Is
yeah,
you need to take the time to invest in your children's learning. That's your job as a mother. That's your job as a father. Take your time to look at the children's school books. Don't trust us. Look at the books, and if anything in the book contradicts your family values, your moral conscience, or you don't doesn't sit right with you, under the Constitution, you are the primary and natural educator of your child. Your children belong to you,
yeah,
not the state. And
yeah,
you can go into that school and say, I don't want my children to learn this. You can opt them right out of it. You can scratch it out in the book, get a black Sharpie marker and scribble the book. I don't want them learning there's, all these genders, or I don't want them learning masturbation. Scratch it out. Take the marker and
yeah,
scratch it right out.
yeah. Are
There
they
you
making
go.
it quite difficult for parents that want to opt out their children? They're
Some
saying
children,
you have to come up and
yeah,
call and bring them home or something like that. Wasn't a few people
yeah.
spoke about that in the East Wall group, I think it was.
Some
So
parents,
they're making it quite difficult
yeah, and that's not
to
right
even
either.
take them out of class. Sorry.
It's right, because if there was a child, let's say in a Catholic school, and there are Muslim children in Catholic schools, that Muslim family may opt that Muslim child out of Catholic education or the sacraments. That's absolutely fine. They'll move the Muslim boy into another classroom with no hesitation. But if you want to opt your
Yeah,
children out of this gender ideology or highly sexual content, oh no, you have to come and pick them up. No, what would you do if the child's teacher was off sick? You'd move them to another room or they'd go, elsewhere. So the schools are
yeah,
making some of them very hard for the parents. So the parents need to ask to see the school books, but assert their parental rights. Your children belong to you, not the school, not the state, not the government. You need to start acting like a parent. You're the adult in the room. Your child doesn't have a voice in this, and your child's mind will be destroyed if you don't step up as a parent and go and get close to what your children are learning and feel confident going and having the conversation with your school. It's not fun. It's not a fun conversation. I've had a few myself, but when I took all the information about the Beacon Alta into my school, and I met with my principal and I've emailed everything and I had phone calls. Sometimes I think, oh gosh, this is no fun. I certainly don't want to be spending my days doing this, but I realized my children need it. But when I went into the school and asked, how are you going to teach the Be Canalta, don't be a transphobic bully, if you're not teaching transgenderism? And my school, They took those letters to the Board of Management. My school will not be teaching transgenderism. And if a child in my school says to the school, I think I'm a boy, or I think I'm a girl, or a it, or a they, or a Furby, it's go talk to your mother or father, which is absolutely
Oh,
what should happen.
really?
Now,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm the only parent that I know of in my school standing up, and it's definitely, I've had to pay the price at times for that, but I don't care. I'm standing up for all children. But I guess the message I would have for parents is, even if you're the only one in your school, never underestimate the power of your one voice. If you print off our Connect Dead guide on our website, it's 20 pages long. You look at the cast report. You look at everything we've produced. We've done all the heavy lifting and homework. You just read it and print it off. You have no problem going into that school and having a conversation to protect your child. So what's stopping you? You don't fear the conversation. What you should really fear is that your child is being harmed. That's the biggest fear. So, look at your little children. When you kiss your children good night every night, is think your children need your voice. Be that voice for your children. And that's what I'm doing. And it's not easy at times. Some days are very hard, and you get the looks, or sometimes you walk in the room and people go, there's that one. But I don't care what adults think of me. I really don't care what adults think of me. I'm a big girl.
Yeah,
I
fair play
care
to you.
about
Well done.
my children's future. That's it.
Your children's future. And that's what's most important here, is the children. And that's why we're here tonight, to talk about it and
have 5
try and
a day.
alert more people.
The other thing is have 5 a day.
I know, I always think of that when you say 5 a day, talk to people. Yeah.
Talk to 5 people every day. Could be the barber shop, could be after church, could be in the food shopping in the queue, and just, what do you think about what's happening in schools? People look at you, what do you mean? And, oh, well, you've heard, and you just make little small talk. Make the talk as small as, oh, that's a lovely nail polish color you have on, whatever. Make the big talks really small. And if you smile and you talk with concern and you get chatty, very rarely are people going to shut you off. And most people now know what's going on. I went in a barber shop, and there were like 6 men in the barber shop, and I went in with leaflets and I gave a little speech. Every one of those 6 men were on board. One of them laughed and he said, I guess I shouldn't be at the barber shop today. I'm identifying as a woman. And he was joking around, big country lad. Make light of it. They all know it's nonsense. They know that this gender woo is just complete and utter nonsense. So
it's just getting people to get the courage to speak up and speak out. And people are afraid of being called the isms and obes and all that kind of thing. But you shouldn't be afraid to speak up for children. Just think of what it is, and what somebody said as well, the schools get funding and they stop funding. So maybe parents are afraid that, they speak anything, maybe the funding will be taken out of schools. So it's kind of bribing schools and all that kind of thing. Right, we better wrap. It's nearly 10 to 10. We said we'd do an hour.
It's almost
I want to read out something. What? Say that again.
It's almost wine o'clock.
It is wine o'clock. I'm going to have a little Jensen. I know I shouldn't say that. I can't drink wine because it's
my water here, but I do have the wine ready after the call. So I'm going to turn the water.
Water into wine. Yeah, very good. Yeah. No, I wrote down this. You said it the other day, and I just wanted to say it at the end. Every hour put into this ideology claptrap is an hour taken away from other important subjects. And then you said the IQ has dropped from 100 to 92. So that's why, because they're talking about this. 98, is it?
Well,
or 100 to 98, yes. It will be 92 soon if it keeps going on. But that's we'll end it now, Jana. We'll say good night to everybody here, and thank you for watching. Whoever watched, I know there's nobody watching now, but there were a few earlier on. And we'll put links for National Council and all that kind of thing, where people can go and find this out themselves. So take care. Good night, everybody.
Right. Thanks.
We'll
good night.
end the stream.